I've had this Mossberg Patriot in 7mm PRC for 4 months, and it's time for me to send it back to Mossberg. And in this video, I want to talk about the strengths, the weaknesses, and just my complete, honest, unbiased opinion on this rifle and the 7mm PRC cartridge. Let's first start with the rifle. This Mossberg Patriot is a rifle I really wanted to love, but unfortunately had one major downside that kind of sunk it. I actually really like this rifle in a lot of ways. I love how smooth the bolt is. The trigger is actually pretty good. The magazine actually works. Yes, it's plastic. And the gun comes with a threaded barrel, so you can put a suppressor or a muzzle brake on it. There's a lot of good things about the Patriot. Unfortunately, my rifle had one major flaw. It's wildly inaccurate. At best, this gun was a 1.3 to 1.5 MOA gun, which honestly, I did take it out to 1,000 yards and it performed extremely well, especially when you consider that is only shooting 1.5-inch groups. It did extremely well. But unfortunately in 2024, 1.5-inch groups aren't going to cut it. Yeah, it was disappointing accuracy-wise. Now there are many of you out there with this exact same rifle and 7 PRC, and it shoots amazing. There are plenty of YouTubers out there that also have this rifle, and it shoots easily sub-MOA. Unfortunately, I think I just got unlucky, and you kind of take a gamble when you get a Mossberg Patriot. Now let's take a deep dive into the 7mm PRC as a cartridge. This is where it's going to be controversial, but let me just say I am being 100% honest and I am not being biased when I say these things. First off, the 7mm PRC is a good cartridge. It is a darn good cartridge for just about everything in North America. Does it live up to the hype? In my opinion, no. Is it the best North American cartridge? No. Is it a bad cartridge? Absolutely not. Now let's get to the controversial stuff. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past 6 months, 7 PRC has been under the spotlight because it is not getting velocities, specifically with the Hornady factory ammo. Now, if you get federal ammo, you will get close or right at, and in some cases above, from what I've heard, with the 170 grain terminal ascent. So that's pretty awesome. Now, let's deep dive into why Hornady's not getting velocity and why Federal is. Federal and Alliant are owned by the same parent company. So Federal gets first dibs to the very coveted Reloader 26, which Hornady, it seems like, developed the cartridge specifically for Reloader 26. Because what I've found when I've tested all these other powders, the gun's not really getting close to 3,000 feet per second with these powders. You guys ready for my next controversial opinion? You cannot get 3,000 feet per second with a 24-inch barrel unless you have Reloader 26, or you use these powders and go 2 to 3, maybe even 4 grains over the book max. Now, as I've tested with the powders above, unfortunately my rifle was hitting pressure right at the book max. And whenever I showed videos of my rifle getting pretty slow velocities, even with hand loads, I would always get people commenting, you got to try N570 with this much powder, or you got to try Reloader 22 with this much powder, or H1000. And when I looked up the numbers that they were giving me, I found a common denominator. They were getting those velocities because they were 3-4 grains over the book max, which if your gun doesn't show those signs of pressure, that's sweet. I'm happy for you. Unfortunately, in my rifle, it was. And in the other rifle that I tested, it was also showing a lot of signs of pressure as well. Due to my Mossberg Patriot not shooting well and not getting velocities, I had local subscribers reach out to me and offer to feature their gun. And I got lucky and got to shoot a Fierce CT rival with a 24-inch barrel and 7 PRC. And what we came to the conclusion was, yeah, we could get incredible accuracy with it. It's one of the things I think is really awesome about the 7 PRC in a good rifle. It is a very accurate cartridge. However, he was getting a lot of pressure whenever he went over book max, and he could only get velocities by going over book max. We had one awesome group with a 195 Burger EOL, and it was 2 grains over max, and it had so much pressure. In fact, when we went a little bit above that, we were blowing primers. Here's my next controversial take. Hornady made a mistake by advertising the 7 PRC as a cartridge that could push a 175 grain bullet at 3,000 feet per second. Well, why is that? Well, the only powder it seems that can do it that is still within safe pressures is Reloader 26. Not a great idea to design a cartridge only on one powder. Now, over the last 6 months, I've been accused of being a straight out liar or trying to rig it, make the 7 PRC look bad, that I'm a 7 PRC hater, when in reality, it's just not the case. Remember guys, Mossberg sent me this gun for free. It is in my best interest to make this gun and the cartridge look good as possible. Unfortunately, the gun seemed to be a lemon, and the cartridge seems to be underperforming, and it's not just my rifle it's underperforming in. Now, there's been one criticism that I think is extremely valid about me. In the 4 months I've owned the 7 PRC, the Mossberg Patriot, I've mostly used hand loads, and the little bit of factory ammo I have tested has been from Hornady. I have not bought any Federal Terminal Ascent or the Federal ELDX loads. And guys, I'm sorry, it might be a poor excuse, but when you have a gun that averages 1.5 to 2-inch groups at best, I don't want to be wasting my money just to show that you can get velocity with Reloader 26. Now, with that being said, I should have bought some Federal ammo. Lastly, just remember guys, my experience has only been with 2 7 PRCs. One that shoots pretty bad and one that shoots really awesome, both with 24-inch barrels. So your velocities, your experiences could definitely differ from mine. In conclusion, the 7 PRC is a darn good cartridge, even with its mediocre velocities. When you're shooting a high BC bullet at 2850, that's still great. Let's talk about all of the hype about this. It is not an efficient cartridge. It is not a light recoiling cartridge, and it's not better than everything that's ever gone before it. But if you got one, I'm happy for you. You've got a good cartridge. Thanks guys for watching.